Well, I'm glad you're here watching my video on YouTube. The fact is, I don't know how long this will be up, since YouTube has decided to start censoring me and pulling down my videos. But don't worry, you can watch this video on rumble.com/RandPaul, where I post all of my content. Love to see you over at rumble.com.
Joining me now to react, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. Senator, thanks so much for joining me. You know, Francis Collins is a very smart guy. He helped map the human genome, for crying out loud. But when he says things like this, how can you not just lose faith in our medical establishment to give us good advice?
How can people who are so smart say such stupid things? There is no science to defend putting your kids in masks or parents wearing masks. No science whatsoever. If there were, we would be wearing masks for years and years, because for kids, the death rate is about the same as the seasonal flu. It may be less than the seasonal flu. So is Francis Collins proposing that because the flu's with us forever, that parents should be wearing masks around their kids that have the flu? It is absolutely and utterly without scientific evidence. Now, they're all freaking out right now about the Delta variant. One thing is in all likelihood true: it is more transmissible, significantly more transmissible. But guess what? Every bit of evidence shows that it's less deadly, significantly less deadly. Public Health England looked at 92,000 people. If you were vaccinated and under 50, there were no deaths. If you were unvaccinated and under 50, 0.08%, still very, very small. So it's not an argument for not getting vaccinated. It's an argument for not getting hysterical over the Delta variant. We shouldn't be changing any mandates. And really, in all likelihood, the mask didn't affect the trajectory of the virus at all. The only thing that's slowing the virus down is the vaccine and natural immunity, and they continue to ignore natural immunity, so they think we're too far behind. We got to vaccinate the children. But in reality, I think it's 90% of people over 65 have been vaccinated. That's extraordinary. We should be celebrating.
You know, we should be celebrating. And you used the right word there, hysteria, that I think we're experiencing right now, which is leading to, unfortunately, the imposition of a number of different mandates on the way that people are living, whether it's coming from government or whether it's coming from the private sector and corporations. We're seeing these increased demands, these mandates for vaccination, including in New York City and elsewhere. It's only going to increase, from my perspective, across the country in all these different blue areas. What's the argument that you have against these types of vaccine records as requirements in order to participate essentially in normal society?
Well, I'm against the mandates because I believe in a free society. I'm pro-vaccine. In fact, some idiot reporter came up to me and says, "Are you still against the vaccines?" And I said, I still have the same position. I'm for the vaccines and freedom. But here's the thing. There's some interesting things coming up. I'm against the mandates, but even if you're going to mandate it, what if you're making a mandate that ignores the science? So there's a professor at George Mason who's got a lawsuit that's very interesting going on. He had COVID 5 months ago. He's got a positive test. He has antibodies, and they want him to be vaccinated. And he's like, "Well, I have the same immunity you have, and all the scientific evidence, and my doctor says I don't need it." So I think that'll be an interesting lawsuit, because even in the old days when they say, "Oh, well, everybody had a passport, for smallpox," you know what the exception was? If you had visible pox, you didn't have to take the vaccine, and that was your passport to travel.
You know, Senator, I fear, as I know that you're concerned about, that we're going to see a permanent pandemic reality in America, where all of this is used to essentially have a much more powerful role for government in all of our lives. And, if Francis Collins was to be believed, the ability to go into your home and make sure that you're masking up around your kids. Is this a situation where there can be steps taken by governors and by the Congress to push back against this and ensure that we don't end up in a situation where government has a lot more control over our lives than we would like, with this as the justification?
It's about the only redeeming thing that I've seen in the last year or so. The only encouragement towards those who believe in freedom is we've had some governors pushing back. Ron DeSantis has pushed back against, vaccine passports and mask mandates. Look, if you look at all the mask mandates when they were imposed, the incidence of the disease went up. I'm not saying the mask caused the disease to go up, but as you had mask mandates, you found that actually got more disease. They didn't work.
Senator Paul, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you.